everyone. I apologize for being late. Apparently, I had Central and Eastern time completely confused. So again, my apologies. I just kind of kicked my student out of the office and told him I had to log on. So again, I am so sorry for being late, but here I am. So I guess let's get this started 20 minutes late. So my name is Holly Ellison. I am a dietitian on campus at Minnesota State University, Mankato. So I am the only dietitian here. I actually just started in August, but I have been a dietitian in the Mankato community for over 7 years. And I actually graduated from Minnesota State University with my degree in dietetics and my minor in exercise science. So for any of you watching that also graduated from MSU, go Mavs, or any students that are current dietetic students or looking to join dietetics at MSU, welcome to the Mav fam. So representing here with the purple and the gold. If any of you have any questions as you're logging on, again, I apologize for being late. Thank you for your understanding and for still joining me. But if any of you have any questions, please post them in the comments. Hi. So I will be watching the comments and answering any questions that you have. As long as nobody has any specific questions, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what I do and why I do it. And as you have questions, please ask. That's what I'm here for. I miss you too, Jenna. So prior to coming to MSU, again, I graduated here, but my first job and what I thought was my dream job was actually becoming a Hy-Vee dietitian. So I was a Hy-Vee dietitian for over 7 years. So as a Hy-Vee dietitian, I did mostly community, a little bit of clinical, and a little bit of food service. And then Hy-Vee downsized their dietitians significantly about a year ago, actually. And I was pregnant at the time, so I took a little bit of a break in between there. And then once I was ready to get back into the workforce, this job opened up, and I had always worked with the dietitian on campus in Mankato, so I knew a lot about the job, and I always thought it was a very interesting position that I would really enjoy. It turns out I really do. So I got the job. I started right away at the beginning of the school year this last year, and it's been an amazing fit. So I do a little bit of everything here, which is really fun. So again, I'm the only dietitian on campus, so I serve the whole campus. My office is located in our student health services, so I am housed right alongside all of our providers. So I get a lot of referrals from our providers, which has been a really good partnership. So I'm able to refer to them, and they're able to refer to me. Hi, Andrew. Go Mavs. And so it's been a really good partnership with the providers down here. And then not too far away is our counseling center, and I'm able to partner with them as well. So I do clinical work. Actually, on Mondays and Fridays, I set aside time to meet one-on-one and do MNT with our students. And what's really special about MSU and our partnership with myself and Sodexo is that any student on a meal plan gets my services at no cost. So that is a huge savings. I mean, all of you dietitians out there know that it's hard for people to see you sometimes, which is really frustrating, and the billing process is never easy. So I'm very lucky and fortunate. I don't have to do any of the billing anymore, which is really nice. So any student with a meal plan, any meal plan, gets to see me at no cost, really as much as they want or as much as needed. And then if a staff or a student that doesn't have a meal plan wants to work with me, all they need is $25 dining dollars on their account. And they can just go online and do that. And again, once they have that $25 dining dollars, they get my services at no cost. So I'm able to see quite a variety of students, which is great. I work with students with disordered eating, I see students who have any diagnosis with like diabetes or high blood pressure, high cholesterol, anything along those lines. I get direct referrals. I'm able to see them. I've also been working quite a bit with the athletic teams as well. So working with athletes, and I mean, we all know they have special needs, so really helping them. So we know that there are so many food fads and trends. What are you seeing so far from students in 2021 that interest or concern you? Not necessarily a food trend, but one thing I have seen this school year that there's been an uptick in is disordered eating. And I just think, 2020 and going into 2021 has been really tough for everyone. It's been a very stressful year now, and there's been a lot of, stress from outside sources, and there's been a lot of changes. So I have seen quite a few students who have had a history of disordered eating, and up until this last year, they, have found their support, their ways of helping them through it, and now this pandemic has thrown a curveball into it. So they've seen kind of resurfacing or new issues in relation to their disordered eating. So that's unfortunate, but what's fortunate is these students recognize it and they're seeking help right away, which is really nice. And we have a really good team on campus to help them, and a lot of great places and people in the Mankato community that we can refer to for help as well. I'm also seeing a lot of students still asking a lot of questions about keto. I was kind of hoping that keto and that terminology, that buzzword, would go away. It hasn't yet. I don't get it quite as much, but I am still seeing it quite a bit. But I'm very surprised how many student athletes have reached out with me for help with fueling appropriately for performance instead of just doing it on their own. So I always make sure to, give them a round of applause and congratulate them first for doing it the correct way and not just Googling it and trying to do it on their own. So that's been really nice too. So Andrew says, can you talk about some of the wellness or nutrition challenges you've done for the students? So some of my most challenging students I've worked with, challenging but also fun in the same sense, is working with our cross-country team and athletes. These students, it's spring semester, so they're really gearing up and ramping up with their trainings and their runs. They have a meet this Saturday, so at minimum, these athletes are running like 52 miles a week, and that's like an easy week for them. In addition to, schoolwork, some of them are also working. They're also lifting and doing other endurance training too. It's been a real challenge to help them with their needs. And these students, especially the freshmen, sophomores, they are living on campus. So they're eating in our dining center. So they're not able to just, buy and make whatever they want whenever they want. So that's a little bit more of a challenge too. So working with them specifically in our dining center and, how can we help them and accommodate them? And again, it's been a challenge, but it's been a lot of fun. And seeing them really progress, I'm excited to see how some of them do at their meet this weekend. But I know they've been feeling really good, and we've seen a difference already in just their training. So that has been probably some of my most challenging students, but also most rewarding that I've worked with recently. Any tips on how to adjust programming with COVID in mind? Yeah, so that has been a really big challenge. So another big piece of what I do is doing like the community aspect, but again, just on campus, but the community aspect, getting out and interacting with the students and the staff. So I do events, if you will, weekly, either in our Centennial Student Union and or in the dining center. And that has been a constant challenge. So always looking at, okay, well, what have we done in the past and how can we change it so we can still do something but be safe with COVID? So a lot of it has been, paring things down, using multiple tables, so we have spacing, using markers in front of the event table so that, again, students aren't all clustering together in front of the table. They're standing on those markers to keep their distancing, hand sanitizer everywhere. I have this really fun spinner wheel and Plinko board that I like to use to engage the students, but they're not able to spin the wheel or drop the Plinko piece themselves necessarily. So with the spinner wheel, I have like a mobile plexiglass I'm able just to like pick up, and it has a stand. I'm able to use that on my table and keep like the spinner wheel behind the plexiglass, all of the prizes behind the plexi. So I spin the wheel for them, ask them what prize they want, and I hand it to them. With the Plinko board, it's sanitizing like the little Plinko piece in between. Again, making sure everybody's wearing their mask, using hand sanitizer before and after. I try to stand behind the table, whereas in the past at events, it's more engaging to stand in front of the table or next to it and kind of like draw people in as they walk by. But for social distancing, I've been standing behind the table, again, to encourage that safe social distancing. So programming has been a challenge, especially with those events. Another thing I've been doing a lot of is, instead of having one-on-one appointments, I've been doing a lot of virtual appointments. I see a lot of students who are in isolation or just being safe, or again, our athletes, they're testing and having to be really safe before their games and meets. And just, it works better for some students to do virtual. And it's fine with me too. The less like contact I'm having with students in my office, sometimes the better, unfortunately, right now. So I'm doing one-on-one appointments in my office, but I'm also offering virtual as well. So that's been something that we've been focusing more on with COVID. Since you work for Sodexo, do you have an input on food menus in the dining hall? Also, what advice would you give dietitians who are interested in a job like your position? And don't forget to tell people how to find you on social media. Okay, so let's break that down. So since I work for Sodexo, so I am employed as a dietitian through Sodexo, but we are contracted with MSU. So I'm kind of a unique case, if you will. So I'm technically a Sodexo employee, but I also work for and with MSU. So again, I'm the campus dietitian. So in our contract, I'm contracted to do one-on-one counseling. I'm contracted to do these events. I'm expected to have at least one intern a semester to help out with the program on campus. I'm contracted to help with the athletes. In that same sense, yes, I'm a Sodexo employee, so yes, I get input on food and menus. So we are always working a semester ahead on our food and our menus. So over winter break for the students, we were finalizing our spring semester menu. It's a super long, tedious process that I won't bore you with. It has to go into special forms and sheets and get put into our special drive program that we use. So the chefs get like a menu set. They look through it first, and they mark off the things that would and or wouldn't work for our stations and our dining center. And then from there, I sit down with our chefs and I kind of get to tell them, yes, no, maybe, or can we change this? I really focus on the stations in our dining center that are like our allergen-friendly stations. So we have Simple Servings, which is our allergen-friendly station. The only top major allergen we serve there is fish, because we filter through all of the proteins. So we have pork, turkey, beef, chicken, fish. We do not serve seafood or eggs or milk or wheat or gluten, peanuts or tree nuts. So I really focus on the Simple Servings menu first. Make sure they have a really good variety and always double checking allergens. We also have a vegan and vegetarian station. So we actually have a vegan station and a vegetarian station. So I make sure that we have a good variety there. Again, always double checking the menu for allergens. We also have a gluten-free station at our deli station, so the menus don't necessarily change there, but just always reviewing policies and procedures to make sure that we are being safe, because it's right next door to our regular deli station, and the same employees are kind of crossing over. So I do get a lot of input on the menu, so really that like finalizing feature. And then as the semester progresses, we can always change things, and sometimes we have to, based off of, student like dislike or potential for allergens, or, there's a lot of different reasons why we may switch out a menu item. And then in addition, on Wednesdays, we offer a dietitian's choice at the creation station. So I work with our chefs to create that menu cycle, and then every month we feature a dietitian's choice at our salad bar. So something that we wouldn't necessarily always have. It's something that we feature every day all month long. So January's wrapping up. We had kiwi every day, every meal at the salad bar, and we don't always have that. Like in September, we had kale. So something special that students don't normally see every day. That's a really fun choice for them to have at the salad bar. What advice would I give dietitians who are interested in a job like my position? You need to be really organized and self-motivated. So I have a GM that I report to. He kind of has an idea of what I do as a dietitian, but really I'm on my own every day, and I'm expected to just do what needs to be done to help our students in the dining center, to help our staff in the dining center, and to help our students and staff throughout campus. So really being able to prioritize and schedule out so that you're not like 20 minutes late to a live meeting or any presentations, and just really being motivated to start and initiate new things, to always be engaging the students and the staff. And again, just being open-minded to new opportunities. What was the last piece? Oh, don't forget to tell people how to find you on social media. So you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at RDMNSU is my handle. So Facebook and Instagram, it's at RDMNSU. Another question, do you feature any meals or dietary needs to support the international student community who are homesick? Excellent question, Andrew. So it's actually on my to-do list or doing list. We do some of that already. Our spring semester menu is basically all new recipes, which has been a little bit of a challenge for our cooks, but I think in a really good way. And we're really trying to cater to our international student community. So one of the amazing and lovely things about MSU and Mankato is that we have a large international student body, which is fantastic, but maybe kind of hard for them. So we have been trying to cater more towards international menus, which is good for the whole student body to taste and try new things. So we're trying to have, again, not necessarily at all of the stations, but at least one of the stations every day for lunch and dinner to have a new recipe to kind of geared towards those students. And we're always asking for input as well. The nice thing about our student workers that we have in the dining center is a lot of them are international students. So we're able to ask them for feedback and kind of like their personal input. So that has been really helpful to hear from them as well. And then we always offer for our students, they can always call ahead. So our allergen students, our students with special needs, or our international students, so they can call ahead 30 minutes and ask for a special adjustment or a special meal to be made for them, and then our chefs take care of them. So we do have some international students that do that as well. Really great questions, you guys. Like, what's a typical day like for me? It really varies. I start my day, I think like most dietitians do, looking at the schedule and creating a list. I have a planner where everything is planned out. I try to check things off throughout the day and add things as needed. We have a huddle. Our two main locations are the CSU, so it's like our retail food location, and then the dining center. So we do a huddle every morning at each location. So I speed walk in between so that I can make both of them. And at each huddle, I do what's called an allergen tidbit. So it is focused around safe procedures for allergens at each location. So I offer like a quiz of some sort to the staff that I expect them to answer, and then we discuss it during the huddle. Sometimes it's something that I had written up prior to the semester starting. I have like a template I go off of. Often, though, it's related to something coming up or something that's happened or something a student has brought to my attention. So that's been really good to be able to address that. And then I usually have appointments, presentations. I always try to be in the dining center during our lunch hour, which is 11 to 2. Just walking around, checking labels, observing the way things are prepped, prepared, served, cleaned up, all of the above. I do safety walks for allergens every day. I also then try to go to our C-stores and our retail locations, kind of bookmarking before and after, and do the same thing, and just checking the shelves and labels, making sure there's dietitian choices there. And then in the afternoon, again, either presentations, meeting with students, it just kind of depends. One of the big things I do for our staff and then other staff at Sodexo at other locations is AllerTrain University training. So I am what's called a master trainer, and our full-time staff at MSU is required to have an ATU or an AllerTrain University certification in order to be a full-time staff in our dining center and our retail location. So they need to renew that every 5 years. It takes about an hour and a half or 2 hours to go through that education process before they take their quiz. So about every week, I'm doing one of those training sessions with one or more of our staff. So that's really good, again, to keep my knowledge up to date and as a refresher, but just to always be constantly reminding and refreshing that knowledge of our staff as well. So that's been really fun to do. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can provide for you guys. Any of you just logging on have any questions, or as I'm talking through, has anybody come up with anyone else they want to ask? When I was going to school at MSU, like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to be a Hy-Vee dietitian, and I was able to do that. Knowing what I know now and doing this job, I think it actually is a better fit for me. I am able to do a little bit of everything, so being able to go into the dining center, do the food service, kind of lay down the law with the food safety is a lot of fun. Working with the menus, I don't have to do all of the work of creating them, but I get to have our chefs, who are the food experts, create the menus, and I get to go in and make special notes and tell them yes or no, so that's been a lot of fun. I get to do the clinical, the one-on-one MNT without the hassle of having to bill for it, so that's been really positive and fun. And then just the community aspect of being able to be everywhere on campus and work with the departments and professors and the dietetic students on campus, and having interns and working with the athletes and doing the events to engage people is a lot of fun and has been really rewarding too. So there's a lot of things I love about this job, so it's been a really good fit. I got another question. Andrew, you're full of questions. Do you do anything for the off-campus students who maybe are able to cook, grocery shop? Example, grocery store tours in the community with those individuals. So I still have a really good relationship with the other Hy-Vee dietitian in Mankato. Her name is April, and I refer students to her a lot for grocery store tours. I have not done one off campus. I have done like workshops virtually. Again, with COVID, it's kind of hard to do a lot of stuff I would want to do. I have a whole list of things I hope to do sometime in the near future when restrictions are a little bit more relaxed. So I do refer to them. And then I do see a lot of students who live off campus. Again, with that $25 dining dollars, being able to see me at no cost. students are able to load those dining dollars onto their account, and it's not like they're throwing that money away. They get to use those dining dollars to pay for a meal at a retail location or in the dining center. So I would say about probably a fourth of the students that I see for MNT are actually off-campus students, and a majority of those, again, are referrals I get from providers that I'm working with too. So I see quite a few, and again, I am referring to the providers down here. I refer to a few of our specialist dietitians at Mayo and Mankato Clinic, and then again the dietitian at the grocery store as well. I have another question here. Did you have to get certified to work with athletes, or do you learn on the job? So I am working on, I have done CEUs, and I'm working on special certification. I have learned a lot on the job. I've also reached out to some of my friends. They don't live in Minnesota, but some friends who are dietitians that work with athletic teams. And then again, I do a lot of referring. And what's, again, really nice about MSU that I love is that we're all a team. So we have a provider down here that works exclusively with the athletes. So I work with him, as well as the ATs that work with the athletes and the coaches. So we are a big team to help the athletes. It's not just me, and it never could be just me, because there's a lot of other things involved, AT, PT. I mean, there's so many people working with these athletes. So I am hoping to have a certification in the future. I currently do not have one. So I do what I feel is within my scope, and anything outside of that, I definitely refer, and I never hesitate to refer or to tell an athlete or a student or anyone, I'm not comfortable with that, or I don't know the answer to that question. I know someone who might, or let me look into it, or let me get back to you. I think that's one of the biggest tips I can give to a new dietetic professional is get comfortable with not always knowing the answer. We all know that nutrition and wellness and dietetics is such a broad scope. That's why we have so many certifications and dietitians who are specialists in other areas, because it's hard to know and do and be a specialist in everything. It's virtually impossible. So being comfortable with saying and knowing that it's okay to not know the answer to everything, and trying to give an answer that you think may be right is going to be much more harmful and come back bad on you in the end, rather than just saying up front, I don't know the answer to that, or I'm not comfortable working with that, and being able to refer or search out someone who can help them. And again, that's what teams are for. Whether you're in a community setting, a campus setting, a clinical setting, whatever it may be, there's experts all around you, and being able to, really work with them as a team has been really helpful. Great question. Are there any kind of if you see me looking beyond the camera here, I'm on my phone because my computer wasn't working. So I'm just looking to see if there's any other questions coming through. Any other questions I can answer for anyone? Let's see if there's anything I haven't covered yet. Again, if you're just logging on, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at RDMNSU. So again, Facebook and Instagram at RDMNSU. For those of you who are dietetic students, I hope you are trucking along on your applications. I know that they're due soon. I always remember ours were submitted around Valentine's Day, and we found out around April Fool's Day. So hopefully those are going well for you. What has been your most favorite thing you've done so far as a campus dietitian? Probably actually the most fun thing I've done is working on the menus with the chefs. So in the past, that's something I've never done, is a big menu creation for a food service setting. And again, I didn't have to create the menus. I watched our chefs every day, all day, with their heads in their computers, their pens on their paper, literally hashing out and creating this marvelous menu to fit in our glorious dining center at all of our stations. And then at the end, I was able to sit down with them and see their creation and look at all of these brand new recipes and be able to go through with my red pen and make changes and be able to cross things out and recommend recommendations and tell them, literally veto things or tell them yes or hey, I want to see this in here. So maybe it's a bit of a power trip, but I actually really enjoyed doing that. And I've learned a lot from our chefs too. They have been a wealth of knowledge as far as food and recipes and cooking. I mean, that's their expertise, but I've never worked alongside a chef before, a culinary expert. And here we have 3 executive chefs and we have 6 sous chefs. So there's a lot of knowledge, and we serve, like going back to the international dishes, we serve a variety of dishes in the dining center, and I have been able to eat things that I've never eaten before, or maybe that I have seen on a blog post but never actually seen in person. So that's been a lot of fun. And that kind of leads me to my favorite perk of the job, if you will, is I get to eat for free at any of our locations on campus. I often eat in the dining center because there's so much to offer, but I can go over to the retail as well. And as a dietitian, fellow dietitians, we're all foodies, right? We love food. So that has been my favorite, is being able to eat all the food or any of the food from anywhere whenever I want on campus. So I'm also not packing my lunch every day, which is marvelous. I pack my daughter's lunch and my husband packs his, and I go out the door without a lunch bag. So that's been really nice. Anna says, do you have any fueling stations for the athletes? Sorry if you already covered this. So that is something that I'm actually discussing with some of our coaches right now. We currently do not have any Sodexo run fueling stations for the athletes. According to our athletes, they have some snacks provided to them in like the PT and AT offices, and some of the coaches will bring stuff. And I guess depending on the sport, a lot of parents will attend games and they have like a rotating schedule of who's bringing snacks and fueling station stuff and meals for them. But we currently do not have a partnership where Sodexo is running any of that. I guess in the past we have worked with our football team to do that, but I guess that was over 3 years ago. So we currently do not have any fueling stations for athletes. I know that there are some Sodexo dietitians at other accounts that do fueling station for their athletes, but we don't have one, so I honestly don't know what that looks like. Good question. And we didn't cover it already, so it's a good question. Any other questions? As I see there are some new people logging on. Hello, I'm Holly, campus dietitian at MNSU Mankato. Again, if you don't already, follow me on Facebook and Instagram at RDMNSU. Answering questions that anyone has, if anyone has any. I'm trying to think if there's something else I can tell you that I haven't already. I am the 3rd dietitian at this account. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Sodexo employs quite a few registered dietitians. Not all of us are campus dietitians. A big majority of us are actually clinical dietitians. So for all of you fellow Sodexo dietitians out there, whoop whoop. It's been nice to get to know a lot of them. The university dietitians are a little bit more fewer and like far between, but there are quite a few out there. So it's been great to be a member of their team. Again, bouncing ideas off of one another, not always recreating everything or creating everything from scratch. Do you interact with the Food Service Systems 1 class for their dining project? I currently do not. So for any of you who have graduated from MSU, Food Service 1 does this big dining project every year, and the Sodexo dietitian has never interacted with the food service systems class. We haven't been asked to, but I would not say no if I was asked to help with that. It is a big semester-long project. It involves like menu creating and then having a special meal. Again, because of COVID, things have looked different. I don't know what they did last year. Instead of having that big meal, they still had the class, but they didn't have the big meal, so I'm not sure what that looked like. And I'm honestly not sure what it looks like this semester for them either. But I would definitely be open to helping them. I have talked to like a lot of different classes on campus. Dr. B made me want to cry. Dr. B made me cry, not just want to cry, made me cry. That was a really rough class. So I know that while Dr. B was gone, our chefs and our operations manager did help with the class that semester, and they were very surprised at how things were run, because it's not at all how we do things at Sodexo. So I think that semester things were taught a little bit differently, but I know when they're in the kitchen, they're using our Sodexo kitchen, and our chefs and our GM are helping them with ordering and cooking at that point. But the dietitian has never been involved, but that's not to say never will be in the future. Katie, my first job was with Sodexo Campus Services. So much variety in that position. How have you managed balancing the counseling side of things and more of the food servicey side of things? So it has been a challenge. I was fortunate enough to, when I came into the position, my supervisor actually was the first dietitian in this position. So she had a lot of like tips and tricks and kind of like a general schedule laid out for me, which was really helpful. She had certain days set aside for the counseling side, because otherwise it can kind of like dabble in and kind of like overtake your whole schedule, because there are so many students that want to take advantage of having a dietitian on campus and that free service, which is great. So I, coming in, was told, it works really well to have designated days. So that's what I've done. I like having it as like the bookmark to my week. So I designate Mondays and Fridays to the counseling portion. If that absolutely doesn't work with students, I will schedule them in between, but I do it as a very last resort. So having like Mondays and Fridays designated specifically to the counseling has worked really well. And then the food servicey stuff is literally everything in between. And then I do still do the food service stuff on those Mondays and Fridays too. So during the lunch hour, I'm still over in the dining center. I'm checking the food as it goes out, specifically at those allergen stations, simple servings, vegan, vegetarian, and then the gluten-free deli. As they're prepping and putting all of the food out, I'm there kind of creeping, if you will, to double check that everything is safe and it looks good, and just being available for questions in the dining center for students. And then once the lunch hour is over, I go back to the counseling. So again, I kind of separate my days as much as I can, with the counseling portion being Monday and Fridays, and then the food servicey stuff being all of the other days. Simple servings is amazing, yeah. In our new dining center, we didn't have the UDC, the University Dining Center. We had Kirkowski Commons when I was at school here, and it is significantly different. The dining center is beautiful, and simple servings, having a special allergen station is great. My brother actually has celiacs, and he went to school here at MSU, and having simple servings, that station, was such a blessing for him to be able to have safe food on campus, and having chefs and staff that are educated, trained, and certified in preparing and serving that food. Again, it's such a blessing for our allergen students like my brother. That's new since I was there. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, so simple servings is great. Again, having the option for students, our allergen students, special dietary students can call 30 minutes ahead of time and order, gluten-free pasta, or we always have gluten-free stuff in back. We have special storage units and coolers specifically for gluten-free items. So like, for example, we have a gluten-free cooler for breakfast where we always have gluten-free muffins, gluten-free bagels, gluten-free English muffins, Gluten-free tortillas are in there. I know I'm missing some stuff. Gluten-free waffle mix, gluten-free pancake mix. We always have gluten-free stuff in there. And then we have our gluten-free lunch and dinner options as well, kind of extras in addition to what you can find at the station. So students can always call ahead the 30 minutes and ask our chefs to whip up something special for them, which I think is really phenomenal customer service and really a benefit for those allergen students. So never really feeling left out. They're able to go to the dining center and actually eat with their friends without feeling like an outcast, which can be really hard for a college student. I mean, you're figuring out so many other things already. It's nice to be able to have that food available. Anybody have any other questions before we wrap up? Again, I apologize for logging on late. It's at least Central, Eastern, Pacific time. I should have double checked, but I didn't. I've learned my lesson. I'll fess up. It was 100% my fault. My computer wasn't working. Have you done any food sampling or demonstrations for students? I have not. I guess I kind of have, but I've done it differently. So I haven't done any direct, hey, I'm handing you samples at my events, but I do get behind the stations and offer the food and the samples directly from the stations. So we just did last week a new guacamole recipe, and I featured guac and talking about heart-healthy fats. And instead of having a special table where I was handing it out, I was actually at the vegetarian station, and I had the guacamole there in addition to the vegetarian dish. And I had special signage, and I had an intern with a table across from there doing a game and then directing them over to me. So I was handing out samples or full servings, if that's what they wanted, of guacamole and just doing it that way. Allie and I graduated together from MSU. Yay! So I've been doing food samplings and demonstrations that way just because of COVID. It's been easier to track and be safer with things that way. Again, having all of the precautions and policies and procedures already in place at the stations instead of trying to create my own for a special tabling event. So I am still doing food samplings and demonstrations, just unfortunately instead of doing them, at my own table, I'm doing them at the stations and just advertising and having an intern doing something fun and interactive at an additional table and directing them to me. So again, COVID has made things look quite a bit different, but we're still trying to do all of the fun stuff, just maybe a little bit differently. Anybody have any other questions for me? It was nice to virtually see and meet all of you and answer your questions. I think I covered all of the main questions for you, a little bit about me, what I do, why I do it, the challenging things I do, the things I love to do. If anybody has any additional questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I will put in the description in the comments how you can contact me. So you can always call or email me. Otherwise, again, feel free to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. My handle is @RDMNSU. But otherwise, it was great to see you all. Again, I apologize for being a little late for those of you who are looking for me and trying to find me. Thank you. Thanks, Andrew. It's nice to virtually see you and connect. To all of you, thank you for joining me. I hope to connect with you in the future. Again, don't hesitate to reach out and ask if you think there's anything I can help you with or any other questions I can answer. Otherwise, have a great day and a great weekend. I guess it's Friday, so TGIF. Enjoy the weekend. Thanks, Andrew. Have a good day and a good weekend, everyone. Bye.